One of the most important lessons we've learned from a decade of exploring the beer world is that America's influence can't be overstated. In terms of impact, it's now just as important as the great brewing nations of Germany, the Czech Republic, Belgium and Britain. America's diverse population and geography means its brewing scene has influences from all over. There's heritage European brewing methods, cuisines from every nationality you can think of, and an incredible array of ingredients, whether it's hops and malts or spices and fruits. Add to that a national tendency to go bigger and bolder and to innovate as much as sticking to tradition, and you create what modern craft brewing is all about. American brewers' supersized approach has had an outsized impact on the world, inventing dozens of new beer styles over just a few decades, all evolved out of dusty recipe books from the old brewing world, either out of necessity or a sense of adventure. To tell just a few of those stories, we teamed up with the Brewers Association as they and a handful of amazing American brewers headed to the UK for the London Craft Beer Festival. While in the capital, 6 of them were brewing collaborations with British brewers, all of them styles invented in the US but now brewed around the world. We wanted to cover all 6, but unfortunately they were happening on the same day. So we settled for 4.
Welcome to sunny Tottenham.
Yeah, we couldn't have picked a warmer day to run around London following brew days, but we've come to Exhale, the amazing Exhale here in Walthamstow on the Black Horse Beer Mile. These guys are purveyors of beautiful lagers, great pales and great fruited sours specifically, and I think we've got a very exciting US-inspired quick sour about to mash in right here. Should we check it out?
Let's get to it.
Cool, well we'll start by cracking the beer. Brittany's already done it, brilliant. Welcome to the Craft Beer Channel. Let's start with you, Brittany.
Hi.
Tell us about 903, where in America is it from?
903 Brewers is a craft brewery based in Sherman, Texas, which is about an hour north of Dallas and 20 minutes south of Oklahoma.
And do you focus on these kind of beers that we're going to be making today? Or?
Absolutely. Right. So we do a lot of, I like to say, flavor forward, playful, very expressive beers, lots of pastry and fruit flavors. We make all different kinds of styles. We're releasing 1 to 4 new beers a week.
Wow.
So we have a very aggressive schedule. We're inspired by familiar flavors, so any kind of like baked goods or things from our childhood. We like to incorporate that into our beer.
Mm-hmm. It might be familiar to you guys, but prickly pear is quite an unusual flavour. So it's a prickly pear sour. Is there anything else happening?
It is, yeah. So it's going to be a prickly pear sour, but it's also going to be combined with strawberries.
Right.
Speaking to the guys at 903, like we exchanged a few emails before this collaboration, and Wilson, the head brewer, mentioned that prickly pear by itself can have a tendency to like be a little bit vegetal and stuff, so it kind of needs to be paired with like another fruit. So we thought a really great tie-in of kind of like a American-UK collab would be to pair it with strawberries, as they're in season right now and they're quite sweet. Mm-hmm. Like, so we can, we'll make a very fruit-forward beer, and hopefully they should kind of balance out some of the character that the prickly pear brings to the beer.
So a sour beer is mostly kind of a European invention, like the Berliner Weisses and Goses of Germany, but by adding strawberry, prickly pear, America's taken it.
Yes, yeah,
as always, the next next step.
That's a great way of saying it, because we've got a lot of global influences in American craft beer. We've got German influences, we've got Czech influences, Belgian influences, and British influences, but then the American approach to it is to be kind of aggressive and playful on those flavors, to take it to the next level, to have a whimsy and a kind of non-traditional interpretation. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's an exciting thing to share and collaborate on here.
And what are the challenges with making like a sort of quite heavily fruited beer? Is there a lot to think about? I mean, obviously, prickly pear is a new thing for you guys to brew with.
Prickly pear is like a new thing for us to work with. So, like, I guess one of the challenges is like ensuring that the beer is fully fermented, but you still have like that fruit-forward flavor that you're looking for, like in the finished beer. Mm-hmm. So, like, we've experimented in the past using like purees, powders, like concentrated juice to try and make sure that we get as much flavor into the finished beer as possible.
Right, yeah. So you're trying to build, like, I guess, like depth of fruit flavor and then like high citric notes and stuff by using different processes and
Absolutely.
ingredients. Yeah. I guess like breweries like 903 in the States are the people sort of leading that innovation. You know, like in the Belgian tradition would be whole fruits, massive quantities, Charles Peak cherries that are local. Americans are like, we're going to do everything we can to pack this with.
Yes. So at 903, we make at least 3 sour beers, fruited sours a month.
Wow.
Yes.
So-
We have a lot of fun. And we do lightly fruited gozas, we do lightly fruited Berliner Weisses, and then we also do this style called slushy. So it's a Berliner Weisse base with just heavy amounts of fruit. It changes the mouthfeel of it. It changes the whole experience, where you get more of like the fruit forwardness and a little less of like the malt character of the base beer. But it's a sensational drinking experience, and I think it talks to the experimental side of American craft brewing.
One brew down, Johnny. 3 to go. Where are we off to next?
Right, we've got a 3-minute walk to the amazing signature Brewco, music-inspired brewery, who are brewing with Virginia Beer Co. Yes. So we're at the amazing signature. You guys seem to get bigger every time I come here.
Well, yeah. Thankfully, that's the way we're going forward, which is very pleasant.
Yeah.
But yeah, very nice site that we have here now in Walthamstow. So our brewery is mainly making lager and session IPA. Basically, the main goal of the beer that we are making is to make beer that are enjoyable at music venue and music gig. That was the goal of like the creation of Signature.
So tell me a bit about Virginia Beer Co.
Absolutely. So we are a small craft brewery in Williamsburg, Virginia, Southeast United States. Opened in 2016, so just celebrated our 7-year anniversary. We've been exporting since 2018. My business partner is, I call him the quietest secret agent you'll ever meet. He's a man of 4 passports. So export's been a big part of the business plan since the beginning. And so we love coming over to the UK, other countries, and collaborating with different breweries, learning about their styles. And the fact that there's a musical theme here means a lot to us because my business partner's parents are professional musicians. Wow. And so he's got a big, rich musical background. We host live performances at our brewery as well. And so the combination of what we say is good beers and good cheers teamed up with good music.
So is cream ale the perfect beer to enjoy during a gig?
It's something that you can have a few of and still enjoy the music and remember the music. That's the important thing.
Okay,
yes.
Yeah, session strength is good for that.
Absolutely. It's a very sessionable beer. It's a very prototypical American style, and it's always so humbling to come to the UK. We've been coming over and doing export work since 2018, and you know the birthplace of ales, you know, in many cases is the United Kingdom, and so the cream ale is kind of a fusion of English ales and German lagers. So it's sessionable, it's golden, it's crisp, little sweetness, low esters, low bitterness, but has that prototypical American ingredient, flaked corn typically, and it gives off a bit of sweetness. So it's sessionable, it's crisp, it's refreshing. It's not quite a lager, it's not quite an ale, it's something right in between, and so it's a perfect collaboratory beer because we're doing something together.
Yeah, so it's kind of like it came about because like there were obviously ale breweries already in the US, and as the German immigrants came across in the mid-1800s,
yes.
I guess the ale brewers were like, we have to respond to
and that's exactly what it was. And that's business in a nutshell, right? You have to adapt, you have to come up with something new, something that's competitive, and even though that most cream ales do go through a lagering process, they don't have as much tank time as a traditional lager. So you can turn them around faster, you can get them out to the public faster, so you can get people out there and enjoying their music and enjoying their beers.
So it's a pretty niche style, but so you guys, this is a maize lager, right?
Yes.
Do you also make cream ales as well?
We do. We actually, we brew a small batch cream ale called All-Star Cream Ale, typically once a year. And this year, for the first time, we're actually going to do a much larger batch of it and actually distribute it in our territory in Virginia.
Cool. So there's demand for cream ale, you said?
There is. We have found that a lot of traditional styles are finally coming back into the mainstream.
So tell me about the recipe for this one, because obviously cream ale isn't widely known in the UK, but it is obviously based off of an English style to some extent.
Yeah. So basically, for the recipe, I went as traditional as cream ale can get. So 80% Pilsner malt, 20% flake corn, then a very small amount of bittering hops because they're usually very light beer, so you don't want too much bitterness and too much hop character. The only kind of like particularity that I chose to do for this beer is I'm not going to add any aroma hops, but later in the process after the fermentation, I will inject some fresh lager that we are making in the tank to do the secondary fermentation and the lagering. It's a technique called krausening that German brewers usually do. By doing that, I'm hoping to get hop aroma from the lager.
Right, so
from the
hop and
studio.
yeast will be coming across. From,
Yeah.
Right, wow.
I'm planning on taking like day 2 or day 3 lager from one of our tank outside and inject some in the tank, closing the tank, doing the re-fermentation, the carbonation, and the lagering with the lager yeast in the tank. So I should get primary fermentation with ale yeast at low temperature, and then secondary and lagering with a mix of ale and lager yeast.
Wow.
And hopefully we'll get a nice clean beer.
Love it. Sounds like a true collaboration.
2 brews down, Johnny. Time to hit the road. We've got a roadie in hand. I can't believe we've already brewed a prickly pear sour and a cream ale.
Yeah, and now we're going to be brewing a California Common down at Hackney Church Brew, who have collaborated with the bold Marin.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about Bold Mariner, John?
Yeah, we're coming on 8 years open from Norfolk, Virginia in the U.S. Veteran-owned brewery. So we're kind of military themed, but don't stick too strong to that as well, though. We hit like all the styles we try to, but we're also very lager focused, produce a lot of lager beer.
Awesome.
We converted an old bank that looks like a gigantic beach house into a brewery. We're right on Chesapeake Bay.
Sounds great.
Well, yeah, couple steps and you're on the beach from the brewery.
Wow. Well, welcome to sunny London today. Jacob, can you tell us a little bit about the history of Hackney Church?
Yeah, so Hackney Church opened 2018. I came on board in April last year to sort of launch a new range of beers for them. We've got a lovely tap room right next door to the brewery. It goes along with the church theme with the sort of the big wooden beams and everything that we've got up in there. Lovely food offering as well. The idea is for it to be a place like a church of beer where there's something, we say beer for all sorts.
Love it.
So we just want to create an environment where no matter who you are, who you're with, you can come down and there'll be something that you can enjoy. So we're brewing a California Common today. Most people will know that as steam beer because of Anchor Steam.
Okay. So the California Common is essentially the same thing as a
Same
steam
thing
beer.
as steam beer, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's a lager yeast that's fermented at a higher temperature, almost like an ale kind of yeast style temperature.
Yeah. Yeah, we've got like hoping to get like a lot of esters coming out from the yeast that you maybe wouldn't necessarily get with a cleaner, lower fermentation temperature.
Okay, so that's the sort of characters you might get from the process.
Yes, yeah.
So is it going to be like very caramelly? Like what kind of hops are we putting in it here?
So we're staying really traditional with the hops. We've gone for Northern Brewer, is the hop that was in Anchor Steam.
Right.
Most people nowadays, if they drink a steam beer and it's not Northern Brewer, they're like, is this a steam
where's
beer?
the
Like it's not Northern Brewer.
Yeah.
So we're going super traditional with that. Some crystal malt, which is a malt that I don't usually use very much. It's not my favorite kind of flavor often in a beer, but you can't make this beer without it. And it lends that beautiful sort of amber color sweetness to it.
The California Common style is like quite historic, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, it was a blue collar sort of workers drink back in the day. Is it a German heritage, isn't it? It's kind of like...
Yeah, I think it's like the German heritage of it, and they didn't have the refrigeration. And you're up in San Francisco, it's hot, so they were using like big, shallow, cool ships to
on the roofs
cool.
at one point, right?
Yeah, which is like crazy, and I think Anchor Steam was still using some of those methods up until fairly recently, apparently.
And that was like out of necessity. That wasn't a fad or anything. Like this is beyond being cool.
Yeah, exactly. Which is
And
what's
stuff.
so
Yeah.
great about it is that it created its own style through we
Yeah.
want to brew some lagers, but we don't have the facility to do it. How do we go about it? And something new was born. It's great.
I like the way the yeast really is showcased in this style.
Yeah.
You know, you don't see these type of flavors coming from lager yeast very often because we're bringing them, we're fermenting them at these colder temperatures to keep those esters at bay.
Yeah. Of
So it's cool to really like see what the potential for a lager yeast can be.
So guys, it's the perfect day to brew an American brown, I think.
Yeah,
It's pretty warm back there.
Only 30, 40 degrees
Yeah.
in the brewery today.
Exactly. I guess we should start by talking about DC Brau. So can you tell us a little bit about the brewery?
So, DC Brau opened kind of first beers in the market in 2011. And we were the first packaging brewery in the District of Columbia since the 1950s.
Wow.
When the Hurrick Brewery closed its doors. So, there are more in DC now, but we were the first.
And what styles are you brewing out there? Has it changed in that sort of 12, 13 years?
And things have changed a little bit, you know. We picked up the hard seltzer line as that became a thing, but we still do a lot of what we've always done. You know, classic hoppy American beers. You know, our flagships are a West Coast IPA, a West Coast Pale Ale. We do a Pilsner as part of our core lineup, and then a hazy IPA, in addition to some more, you know, seasonal beers like our Penn Quarter Porter or our El Jefe Speaks.
Yeah. I mean, Howling Hops are well known on the Craft Beer channel. We've featured you in quite a few videos. It seems like there's a real mix of like beers that we know super well, like Tropical Deluxe, but also some interesting stuff happening with new hops and stuff now.
Yeah, absolutely. We try and bring out brand new beer every week, so kind of keep exploring new flavors, pushing out the quality envelope. And you know, fortunately, in the craft beer world, there's always a new flavor to be chasing, a new ingredient to be using. So, yeah, it's a blessing to be part of this brewery. Really enjoy it, and yeah, I hope you guys are enjoying the beer as well.
Delicious.
Yeah, well, I mean, you say there's always new flavors to be chasing, but today you guys are brewing an American brown with big C hops. So we're keeping it old school. Can you tell me about like American browns in American brewing culture?
So, I kind of look at the American Brown as one of those beers that kind of started American craft brewing. You know, if you look at that sort of wave of brew pubs that were opening from the 80s into the 90s, and you know, the American Brown was one of those staples that was on every brew pub lineup everywhere in the country. And like a lot of, you know, American beers, it was taking something that might not have been historically American, so, you know, the classic English brown, but making it American, and kind of that starting point that all of American craft beer as we knew it kind of grew from. So, you know, we wanted to add some, you know, hops that were really a nod to the traditional
What would have been in those
American
brew
craft
pubs.
hops.
Yeah.
You know, that classic grapefruit, floral, pine, resin character.
Well, so tell me about the recipe. What are the hops and the malts you've used?
So we're blessed in the UK, obviously, with loads of amazing maltsters. So we're using quite a few of Crisp's Crystal products. So Crystal 100, 150. We also use some amber and brown malt. I think in my mind, you got to put brown malt in a brown ale. Like that's just that's what's got to be done. Bit of chocolate malt just as a color adjuster, which also brings some like nice roast characters. The hops are Cascade and Chinook. So Chinook is the high alpha for the bitterness, the 60-minute edition, and then a combo in the Whirlpool for a mixture of pine, citrus, and maybe a bit of dank as well. Yeast, we're going Chico yeast.
as American as it gets.
American as it gets.
But yeah, I'm dead excited to have an American brown as well. It's been a long time for me since I had a great one. It's going to be bang fresh. It's going to show all of the character that an American brown should have. And those hops were smelling fantastic as well. So dead excited to try this beer when it's ready.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. What a day. It's not often you get to visit 4 breweries, witness 4 beers being created in one day. That was pretty thrilling, and to follow the process all the way through.
Yeah, it's hot work, Johnny. It's hot work. We've traversed most of East London in the process, and we've met some amazing people across all of these different places.
Yeah, American breweries I've admired for a long time, and revisiting lots of great breweries here in the UK. So obviously it's now going to be about a month until those beers are available for us to taste for the end of the video.
Yep.
But tomorrow is London Craft Beer Festival, which is all the breweries that we visited are pouring at that festival, but also 70 other breweries, all of whom have to some extent probably been inspired by the American craft beer movement. So I say we kill some time by going to London Craft Beer Festival and seeing what we can see, and seeing the incredible impact of American breweries on the UK and indeed European craft beer scene.
Nice.
So essentially what I'm saying is, let's go to a beer festival.
Drink up, let's go to a beer festival. So we're at the American Craft Beer Bar. Obviously they're serving lots of amazing American styles of beer, but it's when you leave this bar and you explore the rest of the festival that you really see the impact that American styles have had on the scene as a whole. It's spectacular. Let's go and discover America in England.
A big howdy, y'all.
Howdy, y'all.
With all the recent brews still fresh in our minds, it became pretty clear at the festival that American-style brewing dominates the modern craft scene.
Imperial chocolate stout. Massive. Oh my god. I am off the YouTube.
I've seen you off the YouTube. Johnny's mate.
I am Johnny's mate.
As well as the hazy IPAs that dominate most beer lists at this point, Brad tried all the styles we've talked about so far in this video, as well as pastry stouts, American wheats, and just about every kind of IPA under the sun. Black, rye, cold, and his personal favourite, the West Coast.
It's big, it's bold, it's bitter, it's a double IPA. I don't know what else to say. America all over.